Alright, so there is ashtray taped off and spray painted again after I sanded it down, and we'll let that keep drying here in the paint area, and then we'll move on to some new stuff that we have today: tires and rims. So we're starting to move into some tires a little bit here. I've gotten rims, and those are they come primered gray, so I'm going to paint those up a little bit just to make it so that the gray doesn't show quite so badly. It's just going to be a flat black paint on the rims. Here's a new bias ply spare. It was actually a lot cheaper than the radial, and it's not going to have the same width of band, but it'll just go in the trunk and hopefully never ever be used. Let's hope. Here's the old tire, one of the old ones. It's not the spare. I thought I'd be able to use these tires again, but the more when we started to try to take them off the old rims, you could see all this splitting that was happening all along the old bead, and these tires are done. They're just done. So it about killed us breaking the bead and getting this old tire off the old rim. But we got it done. I've got the old rim off, and I've already knocked off the old rust as much as what I could using the giant arm breaker drill and a wire wheel. And then we will, I'll just flat paint the spare with just a flat black matte type finish paint, and that'll be the end of it. Alright, here's junky old rim that I've knocked off as much of the rust as what I can get. And we'll just go ahead and make a can of flat black paint, clean it up, and that's what we're going to wind up doing with it here. And we'll just put that into the trunk. That one's going to be our spare. I know it fits. I already put it on the front of the car there, and it didn't rub. The tire didn't rub, which was important. So at least I know this one will work for it. There's one side looking a lot better. We'll let that dry off here, and then we'll flip it over and make it better, and I'll try to get that other tire mounted up here today if I can. Alright, there we are, looking way better, cleaned up. Good enough to use for a spare, that's for sure. And we'll get the tire mounted on that and put it in the trunk, and then we'll work on the other hubs, getting those ground down so that the new rims I have will go in there without a fuss. There's no point in trying to show how to mount a tire here, but I must say that having brand new tires with soapy water makes it pretty effortless. That was probably one of the easiest tire mounts that I've done, and other than my nasty fingerprints all over the white walls, I don't think it should be too much more difficult now to get these aired up and balanced. Thank you oh so much for the best tire spoons ever created. Could not have done this without them. There we go, aired up. With the help from a little starting fluid and lighter, we were able to get that bead set on there. Boy, I tell you, it was really far, it would have been challenging. I still wound up, even to get the bead to set, I had to use one of these little body picking tools there, little L-shaped there on the end there to lift that tire up there and kind of even get it close to beading. It was not even in the ballpark when it was just sitting there on the tire, but we're up and aired up. This one only takes 32 psi max, so I got it up to 30 right now. Now I just got to get all my fingerprints and nasties off of the white walls here, and I think I'll just put this in the trunk, and that's going to be our spare. And there we have it, one installed, aired up, and mounted white wall on a repurposed rim, but at least one that I know works. And that should just be fine for carrying us down the road. And that is that. And now we'll move on to other stuff. Alright, much better. Got it painted black, put a gloss on top of it. I had all the kind of chromy tin part here masked off while we did it. So we stayed in pretty good shape. I went ahead and shot the inside too with a little bit of black paint just to help keep the rust from coming back so quickly on it. Certainly much better than it was before, and good enough to install back in the car. So I'm here at the back seat looking at the Pass-A-Light feature. Pass-A-Light, that's what it was called in 1950. A little extra you got with your Roadmaster, I'm assuming, to have an extra cigarette lighter in the back. But anyway, we're grounded, or I'm grounded here to the back seat, and of course the back seat is actually grounded somewhat by the bolts that hold it down. There is that other ground wire across there. I traced the power wire that actually branches off of the same power that goes to the fan. So it appears to be connected, and indeed, if I go down here and put my multimeter there on the end of the hot end of the cigarette lighter, you'll see that it'll, well, I lost my ground, hold on. Alright, where were we? There we are. Definitely carrying 6+ volts there. So it's hot and it should work. Jumping for, running across the element to the other end of the cigar lighter, and then the third wire there being a ground to take you back to the bench seat. And this time when I ground it, I'll probably ground. I saw that ground wire was actually here, like underneath a screw that went through the upholstery, and probably did bite into some metal here, but I think over here on the side is probably a better ground. Might even scuff that up and brighten that up before we reconnect those parts there, but I think we're ready now that I've got the ashtray repainted. Let's go ahead and get this back seat put back together and see how it all looks. It's not all the way together, but you can see that it should be pretty slick when it's done. These seat belts just kind of come out of nowhere out of the back now that it's up. Got one of the pull cords on, the other one's halfway on there. I'll put it on over there. And the bench seat's all the way back, and those guys there are really all that's in front, so that's not even really going to interfere with your feet if you're sitting in the back. So that's about as good as I think it's going to get on a bench seat here. For not trying to do something like a over the shoulder, which again I just don't think it would have worked. I don't even know about the clearances there on the side there with the bench seat, or where you would put it. It's just not designed for it. But this is turning out pretty good so far. So I'm cleaning up the last of the rust on the inside of the cigarette lighter. I'll put that other grab bar and a scutcheon on, and we'll see if we can't get this ashtray back in there and working. Alright, ashtray reinstalled even. I've sat it in some evaporust. When I mean the ashtray, I mean this component right here. We got our lid flapping up and down like it's supposed to. And eventually, with a little more heat and time, we have, oh yeah, we got a cigarette lighter. There's absolutely no smoking allowed in the car, but I guess if you wanted to do like I've done before, you're on a road trip, you need to start a fireplace up. I've actually used one of those to get a fire started for a campfire. Alright, let's put the last of our bottom trim pieces on. We'll get the side trim pieces put back on, and then we'll feel good because we actually got this trim reassembled. Oh, and it's worth saying that thank God I wound up taking videos of how this stuff came apart and put together, because I wound up watching my own videos just to make sure I knew the proper order for everything. And I can definitely warn anybody else, if you think you're going to explode your car and 6 months later know how to put some of the stuff back together, you are wrong. So good idea to work just pieces at a time if you can, or at least video and document as much as humanly possible. Yeah, all right, and that's it. Everything's buttoned back where it's supposed to be. Seat belts are on. They pull up nice and tight. Pretty unobtrusive. Everything's solidly attached again, and the ashtray is working. And I think that we're pretty much done here in the back seat for some time. I might do some door panel trim stuff eventually, but that's going to be put on the back burner, of course, until some of the other more important mechanical things get solved. But at least now, people who want to have seat belts when they drive or just don't feel comfortable without it now have seat belts. So it's a drivable car. Yay. So Melissa found out something funny. Well, not terribly funny, but important. She got into the car and was pushed on the gas pedal kind of abruptly, kind of hard. And actually, something happened. We heard something chunk and break, and this spring we found had broken. And I do believe, because the gas pedal was just dead and lifeless and stuck, kind of just laying there in the wide open position, that this was a throttle return spring of some form. You know, that would be over here, and that would keep it closed. Of course, it wasn't great that when she did discover it, of course, it was left wide open without a return spring. I don't know what you would have done. You would have had to shut it off, or you would have had to somehow try to pull back on the gas pedal with your foot or something bad. So I bought some new springs, and I think I'll put 2 of them on there. In that case, if one of them breaks, you have a backup for the other. But a throttle return spring is not something that I'd ever really thought too much about on a vehicle. And of course, every vehicle has one. Maybe even 2 of them. I don't know if they have a redundant or not. But anyway, I'll get those installed. Nah, not thrilled. I mean, it does the job. I need to find, that one's stretched out a little bit too long. I need to find one that's maybe 8 inches at rest. And maybe a little bigger, a little stiffer. I mean, it's doing the job. It's doing what it's supposed to do, but I'd feel better if I had a little better spring setup, maybe 2 of them. So, we'll make sure we get that taken care of before we go gallivanting around. Very good. We got rims are all painted here, nice and dry. They're shined up on the outside here. I left the insides just a kind of a flat matte black. Nobody will see those ever hardly. So anyway, can't wait to get them in. They look pretty good here, and they'll have the hubcaps on there, and that'll all go well. So anyway, we'll get this. We'll get these tires mounted up here, and then things will be moving along real good.